The morning sun rose over the palace of the empire. The building was massive. It was made of black stone that shined like glass. Towers reached into the purple sky. Gardens filled with strange flowers surrounded the walls. This was the home of Queen, the most powerful ruler in 3 galaxies. Ho stood at the entrance of the guard station. He was a human, which made him different from everyone else here. The people were tall and elegant. Their skin was pale blue and their eyes glowed like silver stars. They moved with grace like dancers. Ho was shorter than most of them. His skin was brown and his eyes were simple and dark. He felt small in this place. "You are the new one?" a voice asked. Ho turned around. An officer stood behind him. The officer was tall, with sharp features and cold eyes. His name was Commander, and he was in charge of the palace guards. "Yes, sir," Ho said quietly. His voice was soft, almost like a whisper. He had always been shy. Speaking to others was difficult for him. Commander looked at him with clear disappointment. "A human," he said. The word sounded like an insult. "I do not understand why the council sends us such weak creatures, but orders are orders." Ho said nothing. He was used to this. Humans were not respected in the galaxy. They were seen as fragile, emotional, and primitive. Other species had better technology, stronger bodies, and longer lives. Humans were at the bottom. "You will be assigned to the Queen's personal detail," Commander said. Ho's eyes went wide. "The Queen's detail," he repeated. That was the highest honor for any guard. Only the best soldiers served directly under Queen. Commander smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Do not feel special, human. One of our guards was injured yesterday. We need a replacement quickly. You are simply filling a space, nothing more." Ho nodded slowly. He understood. He was not chosen because he was good. He was chosen because he was available. "Follow me," Commander said. "I will take you to the throne room. The Queen is meeting with her advisors today. You will stand guard at the eastern door. Do not speak. Do not move. Do not look at her directly. Is that clear?" "Yes, sir," Ho said. They walked through the palace together. Ho looked around as they moved. The hallways were beautiful. The walls were covered with golden patterns. Paintings of past rulers hung in silver frames. The floors were so clean that Ho could see his reflection. He felt like he did not belong here. Everything was too perfect, too grand. He was just a simple human from a small colony on Earth's outer planets. His family had been farmers. He joined the Galactic Guard Corps because he wanted to see the universe. He never thought he would end up here, in the palace of the most feared queen in existence. They reached the throne room. The doors were huge, made of white metal with blue gems. 2 guards stood on either side. They looked at Ho with the same cold expression that Commander had. "Take your position," Commander said, pointing to a spot near the eastern wall. "And remember what I told you. Do not embarrass us." Ho walked to his position and stood straight. He held his weapon, a simple energy staff, close to his body. He kept his eyes forward and tried to be invisible. The throne room was the most beautiful place Ho had ever seen. The ceiling was high, painted with images of stars and planets. A great crystal hung in the center, sending rainbow lights across the room. And at the far end, on a throne made of silver and black stone, sat Queen. Ho had seen pictures of her before. Everyone in the galaxy knew her face, but seeing her in person was different. She was stunning. Her skin was the palest blue, almost white. Her hair was long and black, falling past her shoulders like silk. Her eyes were silver, bright and sharp. She wore a crown of tiny stars that floated above her head. But it was not her beauty that made Ho feel small. It was her presence. Queen had ruled the empire for 200 years. She had won countless wars. She had destroyed enemies without mercy. She was feared, respected, and obeyed by billions of beings across the universe. And right now she looked very annoyed. "I do not care about trade agreements," she said to her advisors. Her voice was cold and clear. The humans of the Outer Rim have nothing we need. Why are we wasting time on this? One of her advisors, a nervous male named Counselor, stepped forward. Your Majesty, the human colonies have rare minerals. If we establish trade, we could. Could what? Queen interrupted. Depend on humans, those fragile, short-lived creatures. They cannot even travel faster than light without our help. They are children playing in the stars. The advisors nodded in agreement. Some of them laughed quietly. Ho felt his face grow hot. He wanted to say something. He wanted to defend his people, but he stayed silent. He was just a guard. His job was to stand and watch, nothing more. Queen continued speaking about other matters. Ho listened, but he did not understand most of it. Politics was not something he knew about. He was a soldier, trained to protect and fight. These discussions about borders and treaties were beyond him. Hours passed. Ho's legs began to hurt. Standing still for so long was difficult. But he did not move. He did not complain. This was his duty. Finally, the meeting ended. The advisors bowed and left the room. The other guards followed them out, but Ho stayed. No one had told him to leave. Queen stood from her throne. She stretched her arms and sighed. For a moment she looked tired. The cold, powerful queen seemed almost normal, almost human. Then she noticed Ho. Her silver eyes locked onto him. Ho felt his heart stop. She was looking at him. The queen was actually looking at him. You, she said, what are you? Ho's mouth went dry. He forgot everything Commander had told him. He was supposed to stay quiet. He was not supposed to look at her, but she had spoken to him directly. What was he supposed to do? I am a guard, Your Majesty, he managed to say. His voice shook. Queen walked toward him. Her steps were slow and graceful. She stopped just a few feet away and studied him like he was a strange insect. A human guard, she said. In my palace, how interesting. Ho did not know if she was being sarcastic or genuinely curious. Her face showed no emotion. Her eyes were like cold stars. Look at me, she commanded. Ho hesitated. Commander had said not to look at her directly, but she was ordering him to do so. Which rule should he follow? He chose to obey his queen. He raised his eyes and looked at her face. Queen tilted her head. You are afraid, she observed. I can see it in your eyes. Your heart is beating fast. Your hands are shaking. It was true. Ho was terrified, but he forced himself to speak. I am sorry, Your Majesty. I will try to do better. Do better, she repeated. A small smile appeared on her lips. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who found a joke that only she understood. You are human. Fear is natural for your kind. You are weak and fragile. Your lives are short. Of course you are afraid. She turned away from him and walked back toward her throne. I do not know why they assigned you here. You will probably not last a week. Humans never do. Ho felt the words like a punch to his chest, but he did not argue. He did not defend himself. He simply bowed his head and said, I will do my best, Your Majesty. Queen sat back on her throne and waved her hand. You may leave. Ho bowed deeply and walked out of the throne room. His legs felt weak. His hands were still shaking, but he had survived his first day. As he walked through the palace halls, he thought about the queen's words. She thought he was weak. She thought he would fail. Everyone here thought the same thing. But Ho was used to being underestimated. He had been the smallest child in his village. He had been the quietest student in his school. He had been the weakest soldier in his training unit. But he had survived. He had always survived. Maybe the queen was right. Maybe he would not last a week. But Ho was going to try. He was going to prove that humans were not as weak as everyone believed. He returned to the guard station and found a small room that had been assigned to him. It was simple, with just a bed and a small table. But it was his. Ho sat on the bed and looked out the window. The purple sky of the home world was beautiful. 2 moons hung in the distance, glowing softly. Tomorrow he would return to the throne room. He would stand guard again. He would be silent and invisible. But he would also watch. He would learn. And maybe someday he would show them all what a human could do. For now, he closed his eyes and tried to sleep. His first day in the palace was over, but his real journey was just beginning. In the throne room, Queen sat alone. She thought about the human guard she had met. He was so different from her other servants. So small, so quiet, so afraid. But there was something in his eyes. When he had looked at her, she had seen something unexpected, not just fear. There was also determination, a quiet strength that she did not understand. Interesting, she whispered to herself. She dismissed the thought and returned to her work. The human was nothing, just another guard. He would be gone soon like all the others. But somewhere deep inside her, a small spark of curiosity had been lit, and it would not go away. 3 weeks had passed since Ho arrived at the palace. Against all expectations, he was still there. The other guards had bet on how long he would last. Some said 3 days, others said 1 week. No one thought the human would survive a month. But Ho proved them wrong. Every day he arrived at his position before anyone else. He stood for hours without complaint. He never spoke unless spoken to. He never made mistakes. He was like a shadow, always present but never noticed. The other guards began to ignore him. At first they had watched him with curiosity and mockery. Now he was just part of the background, the small human who stood by the eastern door, nothing special. Queen also seemed to forget about him. She held her meetings, gave her orders, and ruled her empire. Ho was invisible to her, just another piece of furniture in the throne room. Or so everyone thought. It was a cold morning when something changed. The heating systems in the palace had broken during the night. Engineers were working to fix them, but the throne room was freezing. Even the guards, with their naturally cold bodies, felt uncomfortable. Queen sat on her throne, dressed in heavy robes. She was reading documents, her silver eyes moving quickly across the pages. Her advisors stood nearby, shivering slightly. Ho watched from his usual position. He noticed that the queen kept rubbing her hands together. She was cold too, even though she would never admit it. During a break in the meeting, Ho moved quietly. He walked to a small side room where the servants kept supplies. He found a heating device, a small metal box that created warmth. He carried it back to the throne room and placed it near the queen's throne, hidden behind a curtain where no one would see it. He returned to his position without a word. An hour later, Queen looked up from her documents. She seemed confused for a moment. The area around her throne had become warm. She looked around but saw nothing unusual. Did someone adjust the temperature? She asked her advisors. They shook their heads. The heating system is still broken, Your Majesty. Said nothing more, but her eyes moved around the room, searching for an answer. Ho kept his face blank. He did not want credit, he just wanted his queen to be comfortable. Days later, another small thing happened. Queen had been in meetings all day. It was late evening and she had not eaten since morning. Her advisors had offered her food, but she had refused. She was too busy, too focused on her work. When the last meeting ended, finally felt her hunger. She called for a servant, but no one came. The palace staff had already retired for the night. She sighed with frustration. She could go to the kitchen herself, but that felt beneath her. She was a queen. She should not have to search for her own food. Then she noticed something on a small table near her throne, a tray with a cup of warm tea and a plate of fruit. Someone had placed it there without her noticing. Looked at the food with suspicion. Who would dare to enter her space without permission? Was it poisoned? Was it a trick? She called for her guard. Bring me the human, she ordered. Ho walked forward and bowed deeply. Yes, Your Majesty. Did you put this here? She asked, pointing at the tray. Ho hesitated. Then he nodded slowly. Yes, Your Majesty, I apologize if I overstepped. I noticed you had not eaten and I thought you might be hungry. stared at him. Her expression was unreadable. "You noticed." "I watch, Your Majesty. It is my duty to protect you. That includes making sure you are well." The queen was silent for a long moment. No one had ever done something like this for her before. Her servants followed orders. They did what they were told and nothing more. This human had acted on his own without being asked. "It could be poisoned," she said coldly. "How do I know you are not trying to kill me?" Ho walked forward without hesitation. He picked up the teacup and took a long drink. Then he picked up a piece of fruit and ate it in front of her. "It is safe, Your Majesty," he said quietly. Watched him with wide eyes. He had just tasted her food without permission. That was a serious crime. She could have him executed for such boldness. But she did not feel anger. Instead, she felt something strange, something she could not name. "Leave me," she said finally. Ho bowed and returned to his position by the door. Queen looked at the food for a long time. Then slowly she picked up the tea and drank it. It was her favorite kind. Somehow the human had known. How did he know? From that day forward, began to notice Ho more. She found herself watching him during meetings. She observed his quiet movements, his careful attention to everything around him. He was always the first to notice when something was wrong. When an advisor was sick, Ho would quietly signal to the servants to bring medicine. When the lights in the throne room flickered, Ho would fix them before anyone complained. When documents fell from her table, Ho would pick them up and organize them perfectly. He never asked for thanks. He never drew attention to himself. He simply acted quietly and efficiently. One evening called him to her private study. It was a rare honor. Very few people were allowed in this room. Ho entered and bowed. "You asked for me, Your Majesty." Sat behind her desk, surrounded by books and star maps. She studied the human with curious eyes. "Sit," she commanded, pointing to a chair across from her. Ho sat carefully. He kept his back straight and his eyes down. "Look at me," said. He raised his eyes and met her gaze. His heart was racing, but he forced himself to stay calm. "You are strange," said. It was not a question. "Strange, Your Majesty." "Different. Other humans I have met were loud and arrogant. They talked too much and understood too little, but you are quiet. You watch, you think before you act." She leaned forward. "Why?" Ho considered his answer carefully. "I learned to be quiet when I was young. I was small and weak. Talking brought attention and attention brought trouble. So I learned to stay silent and observe. It kept me safe." "And your kindness?" asked. "The heating device, the food, the countless small things you do when you think no one is watching. Why do you do these things?" Ho was surprised. She had noticed all of that. "Because it is right," he said simply. "You are my queen. My duty is to serve you. That means more than just standing guard. It means making sure you are comfortable, healthy, and happy." Laughed. It was a short, cold laugh. "Happy? You think you can make me happy?" "I can try, Your Majesty." She stopped laughing. There was something in his voice, a sincerity that caught her off guard. He truly meant it. This strange, quiet human actually cared about her happiness. No one had cared about her happiness in 200 years. Not her advisors, who only wanted her power. Not her generals, who only wanted her approval. Not her enemies, who wanted her dead. Everyone wanted something from her. But this human wanted nothing. He simply served. "You are very strange," repeated, but this time her voice was softer. Ho smiled slightly. It was a small smile, barely visible. "I have been told this before, Your Majesty." Found herself smiling too. It surprised her. She could not remember the last time she had smiled genuinely. "You may go," she said, "but I want you to continue your duties, all of your duties, including the unofficial ones." Ho bowed. "As you wish, Your Majesty." He left the study and sat alone with her thoughts. The human was becoming a problem, not because he was bad at his job. The opposite was true. He was too good. He was making her feel things she had not felt in centuries. Warmth, curiosity, something that might be called fondness. She shook her head. This was foolish. He was a human, a short-lived, fragile creature. He would be dead in 50 years while she would live for thousands more. Getting attached to him would only bring pain. But despite her rational thoughts, she could not stop thinking about him. His quiet voice, his gentle eyes, his simple acts of kindness. What was happening to her? In the guard quarters, Ho lay on his bed and stared at the ceiling. He was confused. The Queen had called him to her study. She had spoken to him almost like an equal. She had even smiled. What did it mean? He knew he should not think about it. She was a queen, and he was nothing. The distance between them was as vast as the space between stars. But he could not help it. When he closed his eyes, he saw her face. Her silver eyes, so cold and yet so beautiful. Her voice, sharp but somehow musical. Her rare smile like a sun breaking through clouds. Ho groaned and rolled over. This was dangerous. These feelings could destroy him. If anyone found out that he had feelings for the Queen, he would be killed. But feelings do not care about danger. They grow whether we want them to or not. Ho made a decision. He would continue to serve the Queen with all his heart. He would do his duty and nothing more. His feelings would stay hidden, locked away where no one would ever find them. It was the only safe choice. But somewhere in the palace, Queen was making her own decisions, and they would change everything. Days turned into weeks. The small acts of kindness continued. Tea appeared when was tired. Blankets were placed on her chair during cold nights. Her favorite flowers appeared in vases around the throne room. Each time knew who was responsible, and each time she felt that strange warmth grow a little stronger. She began to look forward to seeing the quiet human by the eastern door. She began to notice when he was not there. She began to care about his welfare. And that terrified her. Queen had built walls around her heart for 2 centuries. She had survived assassination attempts, betrayals, and wars. She had learned that caring for others was weakness. Love was a weapon that enemies could use against you. But somehow this simple human was breaking through those walls, not with force or cleverness, just with kindness, and did not know what to do about it. For now she did nothing. She watched and waited, but she knew that sooner or later she would have to make a choice. Keep the walls up and stay safe, or let them fall and see what happened. She was a queen who had faced armies without fear, but this choice scared her more than any battle ever had. The celebration had been planned for months. It was the 200th anniversary of Queen's rule, and the entire empire was going to celebrate. Leaders from distant planets traveled to the palace. Diplomats, merchants, and nobles filled the halls. Music played, food was served, and everyone wore their finest clothes. Ho stood at his usual position near the eastern wall, but tonight there were many more guards than usual. Security was at its highest level. The palace was filled with strangers, and any one of them could be a threat. He watched the crowd carefully. Nobles danced in the center of the great hall. Alien diplomats from a dozen species stood in groups, talking and laughing. Servants moved through the crowd carrying trays of food and drink. Queen sat on a raised platform at the far end of the hall. She wore a stunning dress of silver and black, with diamonds woven into the fabric. Her crown of floating stars glowed brightly. She looked beautiful and powerful, every inch a queen. But Ho saw something else. He saw the tiredness in her eyes. He saw how her smile did not reach her face. He saw how she looked around the room as if searching for something or someone. Their eyes met for a brief moment, looked at him, and Ho looked back. Something passed between them, something unspoken. Then the moment ended and she returned her attention to her guests. Ho's heart was beating fast. Every day it became harder to hide his feelings. Every day he fell deeper into something he could not name. He forced himself to focus on his duty. Tonight was dangerous. He needed to stay alert. Hours passed. The celebration continued. Ho's feet hurt from standing so long, but he did not move. He watched everything, memorizing faces and movements. Then he noticed something wrong. A group of servants was moving toward the platform where the queen sat. This was normal. Servants had been bringing food and drinks all night, but something about these servants was different. They moved too carefully, too precisely. Their eyes were not looking at the trays they carried. They were looking at the queen. Ho's instincts screamed at him. Something was about to happen. He started moving toward the platform. He pushed through the crowd as politely as he could. His hand reached for his weapon. One of the servants lifted his tray, but there was no food on it. Instead, hidden beneath a cloth was a plasma pistol. Time seemed to slow down. The servant aimed at the queen. Other servants dropped their trays and pulled out weapons too. There were 5 of them, 5 assassins just meters away from. The guards around the platform were too slow. They had not seen the danger. They were still smiling, still relaxed. Ho did not think, he acted. He ran. He ran faster than he had ever run before. He jumped onto the platform and threw himself at the queen. His body collided with hers, and they both fell to the ground. The plasma bolt hit him instead. Pain exploded through Ho's back. It was like fire and ice at the same time. He screamed, but he did not let go of the queen. He covered her body with his own, protecting her from the other shots. More blasts hit him. 1, 2, 3. Each one brought more pain. The world began to blur. He could hear shouting, fighting, screaming. But all he could see was face. Her silver eyes were wide with shock. Her mouth was open, saying something, but he could not hear her words. "Stay down," he whispered. "Please stay down." Then everything went black. When the fighting ended, 7 people were dead. The 5 assassins had been killed by the palace guards. 2 innocent guests had been hit by stray shots. And in the middle of the chaos, lying in a pool of blood, was the human guard who had saved the queen. Pushed herself up and looked at Ho. His body was motionless. His uniform was burned and torn. Blood covered the platform floor. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." She grabbed his shoulders and shook him. "Wake up, open your eyes, that is an order." He did not respond. Commander approached carefully. "Your Majesty, we need to get you to safety. There may be more assassins." "I am not leaving him," said. Her voice was sharp, dangerous. "Get me a medical team now." "Your Majesty, he is just a human. His injuries are severe. He probably will not." "I said now," screamed. The power in her voice made everyone in the room freeze. "If he dies because you were too slow, I will destroy you. I will destroy your entire family. Do you understand me?" Commander bowed quickly and ran to find the medical team. Turned back to Ho. She held his hand in hers. His skin was cold, so cold. "Why did you do this?" she whispered. "I never asked you to die for me. I never wanted this." But she knew why. She had known for weeks, even if she had refused to admit it. The way he looked at her, the way he cared for her, the way he gave everything without expecting anything in return. He loved her. This strange, quiet human loved her. And now he was dying because of that love. The medical team arrived quickly. They lifted Ho onto a stretcher and carried him away. Followed, ignoring the protests of her guards and advisors. "Your Majesty, please," Counselor said. "The celebration must continue. The guests are frightened. They need to see you are safe." "The celebration is over," said coldly. "Send everyone home, cancel everything. I will be in the medical wing." She walked away without looking back. The medical wing of the palace had the best technology in the empire. Machines that could heal almost any wound. Doctors who had trained for centuries. But even they were not sure if they could save Ho. "The damage is severe," the head doctor, a female named Dr. Sara, explained to the queen. "He was hit by 4 plasma bolts. His spine is damaged. His internal organs are failing. If he were, he would have a chance. But humans are so fragile. Stood at the window of the treatment room, watching the doctors work on Ho. "Save him," she said. "Use every resource we have. I do not care about the cost." Dr. Sora hesitated. "Your Majesty, may I ask why? He is just a guard. We can find a replacement easily." Turned to face the doctor. Her eyes were burning with an emotion that Dr. Sora had never seen before. "He is not just a guard," said. "He saved my life. He jumped in front of plasma fire without hesitation. No one has ever done that for me. No one." Her voice broke slightly. "Save him, please." Dr. Sora bowed. "We will do everything we can, Your Majesty." Hours passed. Ho remained unconscious. The doctors worked without rest, using machines and medicine to repair his broken body, stayed at the window, watching everything. Her advisors came and went. They brought news about the assassins. The attack had been planned by a rival faction in a distant star system. They wanted to destabilize the Empire by killing the Queen. Listened to the reports, gave orders, and then returned to watching Ho. She did not eat, she did not sleep, she did not leave. Commander came to her after many hours. "Your Majesty, you should rest. You have been here all night." "I will rest when he wakes up," said. "Your Majesty," Commander paused. "Forgive me, but I do not understand. He is a human, a nobody. Why do you care so much?" Was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice soft. "Do you know what it is like to be alone, Commander, truly alone?" "I know, Your Majesty. I have ruled this empire for 200 years. I have been surrounded by people every day. Advisors, servants, guards, nobles, but none of them see me. They see the crown. They see the power. They fear me or they want something from me. None of them care about the person." She touched the glass of the window. "But he does. That human. He sees me, not the Queen, me. He brings me tea because he notices I am tired. He makes sure I am warm because he knows I hate the cold. He cares about my happiness, not my power. He is the first person in 2 centuries who has made me feel like I am more than just a queen. And I did not even realize how much that meant until I almost lost it." Commander was quiet. He had served for 50 years. He had never heard her speak like this. "He will survive," he said finally. "He is small and weak, but he has a strong spirit. I have seen it." Nodded slowly. "I hope you are right, Commander, because if he dies—" She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Days passed. Ho remained in a deep sleep while his body healed. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. The damage was being repaired. His vital signs were stabilizing, but they could not say when he would wake up. Visited every day. She sat beside his bed and talked to him, even though he could not hear her. She told him about her day, about the problems of the Empire, about her thoughts and feelings. She told him things she had never told anyone. "I was not always like this," she said one evening. "Cold and hard. When I was young, I was different. I smiled. I laughed. I loved." She took his hand in hers. "But being queen changed me. I had to be strong. I had to make hard choices. I learned that showing weakness was dangerous. So I built walls around my heart. I pushed everyone away." "You broke through those walls," she whispered. "I do not know how. You barely speak. You never ask for anything, but somehow you reached me." She lifted his hand to her cheek. "Please wake up. I am not ready to be alone again." A week after the attack, Ho finally opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was white. White ceiling, white walls, white lights. He blinked slowly, trying to understand where he was. Then he saw her. Queen was sitting in a chair beside his bed. She was asleep, her head resting on the edge of his mattress. Her silver hair was messy. Her crown was missing. She looked tired and worn. But to Ho, she had never looked more beautiful. He tried to speak, but his throat was too dry. He managed only a small sound. But it was enough. His eyes flew open. She sat up quickly, looking at him with shock and joy. You are awake, she said. Her voice was trembling. You are finally awake. Ho smiled weakly. Your Majesty, he whispered, you are safe. Laughed. It was a strange sound, half laugh and half sob. I am safe. You almost died saving me, and your first words are to ask if I am safe. It is my duty, Ho said, to protect you. Shook her head, tears were falling down her face. It is not your duty to die for me. I never asked for that. You did not have to ask. She looked at him and something broke inside her. All the walls she had built, all the defenses she had created, they crumbled in that moment. You foolish human, she said softly, what have you done to me? Ho did not answer. He was too weak to speak anymore. But he lifted his hand slowly and touched her face, wiping away her tears. It was a small gesture, but it said everything that words could not. And in that moment, both of them knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Recovery was slow and painful. The doctors said it would take months for Ho's body to fully heal. The plasma burns had damaged his spine and organs. He was lucky to be alive. Ho accepted this news quietly. He had been prepared to die. Living felt like a gift he did not deserve. They moved him to a private room in a quiet part of the palace. It was far from the medical wing and far from the throne room. The doctors said he needed peace and rest. No visitors except the medical staff. But the queen did not follow those rules. Every evening after her duties were finished would come to his room. She would dismiss the guards and servants. She would lock the door. And then she would sit beside his bed and talk. At first, Ho did not know what to say. She was his queen. He was just a guard. The distance between them should have made conversation impossible. But somehow it did not. Was different when they were alone. She was not the cold, powerful ruler that everyone feared. She was just a woman, tired, lonely, and searching for something she could not name. The council is angry with me, she said one evening. They say I am spending too much time away from my duties. They do not know I am visiting a human guard every night. Ho's eyes widened. Your Majesty, if this is causing problems, you should not come. I do not want to cause trouble for you. Laugh softly. You almost died for me and you are worried about causing trouble. You are strange, Ho. It was the first time she had used his name. The sound of it on her lips made his heart jump. Tell me about your home, said. Your human home, what was it like? Ho thought for a moment. It was a small colony on the edge of the outer rim, a farming world, nothing special. We grew food for the larger human settlements. Were you happy there? Sometimes my family was kind. My parents worked hard. I had brothers and sisters who played with me. He paused. But I always felt different, smaller than the others, quieter. They called me the dreamer because I would sit and watch the stars instead of working. Smiled, a dreamer. Yes, I can see that. What about you, Your Majesty? Were you happy when you were young? The question seemed to surprise her. No one ever asked about her past. No one dared. I was a princess before I was a queen, she said slowly. The third daughter of the old king. I was not supposed to rule. I was supposed to marry some noble and live a quiet life. What happened? His expression darkened. War happened. My father died in battle. My older sisters were killed by assassins. I was the only one left. I became queen when I was barely an adult. I am sorry, Ho said softly. Do not be, it was long ago. 200 years is a long time. She looked away. I learned to be strong. I had no choice. The empire was falling apart. Enemies were everywhere. I had to become hard and cold to survive. You are not as cold as you pretend to be. Looked back at him. What do you mean? I have watched you for months, Your Majesty. I have seen you give secret orders to help poor citizens. I have seen you quietly forgive servants who made mistakes. I have seen you cry when you thought no one was watching. His face went pale. You have seen too much. I have seen the truth. You wear coldness like armor, but underneath you still feel. You still care. You have just been hurt so many times that you are afraid to show it." Silence filled the room, stared at him with eyes that were both angry and amazed. "How dare you," she whispered, but there was no real anger in her voice, only shock. "I apologize, Your Majesty. I spoke out of turn." "No," she shook her head. "No, you spoke the truth. That is what makes it so terrible. You see me clearly and it frightens me." She stood up and walked to the window. The night sky was filled with stars. "All my life I have been surrounded by people who see only what I want them to see. The crown, the power, the fear, but you see past all of that." "I see you," Ho said simply. "That is all." Turned back to face him. In the starlight she looked almost ethereal, beautiful and sad and impossibly far away. "Why?" she asked. "Why do you see me when no one else can?" Ho thought about the question. He thought about all the months he had spent watching her, learning her habits, understanding her moods, caring for her in small ways that no one noticed. "Because I wanted to," he said finally. "Because from the first moment I saw you, I wanted to know who you really were, not the queen, you." "And what did you find?" "I found someone who is tired of being alone, someone who wants to be loved but is afraid of what that would mean. Someone who is strong and beautiful and worthy of every good thing this universe has to offer." His eyes filled with tears. "You speak as if you love me." Ho was silent. His heart was pounding. This was the moment he had feared, the truth he had kept hidden for so long. "I do," he said quietly. "I love you. I know it is impossible. I know it is foolish. You are a queen and I am nothing, but I cannot stop these feelings. I have tried." Did not move, she did not speak. She simply stood there, tears falling down her cheeks. "You should not love me," she said finally. "I am dangerous. Everyone who gets close to me ends up hurt or dead. My parents, my sisters, everyone I have ever cared about. I do not care about the danger. You should. You almost died because of me. And I would do it again." Ho tried to sit up even though it hurt. 100 times, 1,000 times, because a universe without you in it is not worth living in. Walked back to his bed. She sat down beside him and took his face in her hands. Her skin was cool against his. Her silver eyes looked into his dark ones. "You are a fool," she said. "A wonderful, impossible fool." "Perhaps, but I am your fool if you will have me." She laughed through her tears. "My fool, yes. I think I like the sound of that." And then she kissed him. It was a soft kiss, gentle and hesitant. The kiss of someone who had forgotten how to love and was learning again. Ho's heart felt like it would burst. He had imagined this moment so many times, but the reality was better than any dream. When she pulled back, his face was different. The coldness was gone. The walls had fallen. For the first time in 2 centuries, she looked truly happy. "What happens now?" Ho asked. "I do not know," admitted. "This is forbidden. A queen cannot love a guard. The council would never accept it. My enemies would use it against me." "Then we keep it secret." "Secrets do not last forever. Eventually, someone will find out." "Then we deal with that when it happens." Ho took her hand. "I do not care about the future. I only care about now, about being with you." Nodded slowly. "You are right, the future can wait. For now, let us just be together." They stayed like that for hours, talking and holding hands. Told him about her childhood, about her dreams, about the loneliness that had haunted her for so long. Ho told her about his family, his hopes and his fears. By the time the morning sun rose, they knew each other better than anyone in the universe. It was the beginning of something new, something dangerous and beautiful and impossible, but neither of them cared. Love does not follow rules. It does not respect boundaries or social classes. It simply is. And for 2 people who had been alone for so long, that was enough. The weeks that followed were the happiest of Ho's life. Every evening would come to his room. They would talk, laugh, and steal kisses when no one was watching. It was a secret world, hidden from everyone else. Ho's body healed slowly. The doctors were amazed at his recovery. They said his spirit was stronger than his flesh. They did not know that love was the medicine healing him. Changed too. The servants noticed that she smiled more often. Her advisors noticed that her decisions were less harsh. Commander noticed that she no longer seemed tired or sad. "Something is different about her," he said to his fellow officers. "I do not know what, but she seems lighter." No one suspected the truth. How could they? A queen loving a human guard was unthinkable. But secrets have a way of coming out, and soon the entire empire would know what they had kept hidden. One night came to Ho's room with a serious expression. "We need to talk," she said. Ho sat up concerned. "What is wrong?" "I have made a decision." She sat beside him and took his hands. "I cannot keep hiding this, hiding you. It feels wrong." "What are you saying?" "I am saying that I want to tell the world. I want to announce you as my chosen partner, my consort." Ho's breath caught in his throat. "That is impossible. The council would never allow it. Your people would never accept a human." "I am the queen. My word is law." "But the consequences." "I do not care about consequences." Her eyes were fierce. "I have spent 200 years doing what everyone expected of me, following rules, making sacrifices, being alone. I am done with that. You deserve to be free to love whoever you want, and I choose you. If the Empire does not like it, then the Empire can learn to accept it." Ho was overwhelmed. "Are you sure this could start a war?" Smiled. "Then it will be a war worth fighting. For the first time in my life I have something I truly want. I will not give it up." She leaned forward and kissed him deeply. "I love you, Ho. I never thought I would say those words again, but I do. I love you, and I want the whole universe to know." Ho held her close. His heart was full of fear and joy and love. "Then tell them," he whispered. "Tell them all." And she did. The announcement was made in the great throne room. Every noble house was summoned. Every ambassador was called. The news networks of 1,000 worlds were watching. Queen stood on her platform, dressed in her finest robes, her crown of stars floating above her head. Beside her stood Ho. He was wearing a new uniform. It was black and silver, the colors of the royal house. He stood straight, but inside he was trembling. Billions of beings were watching him. The entire galaxy was waiting to hear what the queen would say. Raised her hand, and silence fell over the room. "Today, I have an announcement that will change the future of our empire," she began. Her voice was clear and strong, carried by speakers to every corner of the galaxy. "For 200 years I have ruled alone. I have given my life to this empire. I have sacrificed my happiness, my peace, and my heart for the good of my people. I asked for nothing in return." She paused and looked at Ho. A small smile crossed her lips. "But recently something changed. I found something I never expected to find. Love." Whispers spread through the throne room. The nobles looked at each other with confusion and concern. "This man beside me is named Ho. He is a human, a guard who was assigned to protect me, but he became so much more than that." Took Ho's hand. The whispers became gasps. "He saved my life when assassins attacked. He threw himself in front of plasma fire without hesitation. He almost died protecting me, and in the weeks that followed as he healed, I discovered something I had lost long ago: my heart." Her voice softened but remained clear. "I love him, and I have decided to take him as my consort. He will stand beside me not as a guard but as my partner, my equal." The throne room exploded with noise. Nobles shouted in protest. Ambassadors argued with each other. The news networks went into chaos as commentators tried to make sense of what they had heard. Counselor stepped forward. "Your Majesty, this is madness. He is a human, a primitive creature from a lesser species. You cannot seriously expect us to accept this." Other nobles shouted in agreement. This is an insult to our people. The bloodlines will be contaminated. She has lost her mind. Let them shout. She waited until the noise reached its peak. Then she raised her hand again. Silence, not because they respected her, but because they feared her. I expected this reaction, she said calmly. I knew you would be angry. I knew you would call me mad, but I do not care. She stepped forward, her eyes sweeping across the room. For 2 centuries I have done everything you asked of me. I have fought your wars. I have protected your wealth. I have made this empire the greatest power in the galaxy. And what did I receive in return? Loneliness, fear, empty halls and colder beds. Now, for the first time, I am making a choice for myself. I am choosing happiness. I am choosing love. And if any of you have a problem with that, you may leave this room and never return. No one moved. I thought not. Smile was cold. You need me. This empire needs me, and you will accept my consort because you have no other choice. An older noble lord stepped forward. He was one of the most respected members of the council. Your Majesty, please listen to reason. We do not question your right to love, but a human. Their lives are so short. In 50 years he will be dead and you will be alone again. Why cause this scandal for something so temporary? Looked at Ho. Is that true? Will you leave me in 50 years? Ho met her gaze. All things end, Your Majesty, but love is not measured by time. It is measured by depth. I may have only 50 years to give you, but I will make every single day worth a century. Turn back to Lord. There is your answer. 50 years of true love is worth more than 1,000 years of loneliness. I will take what I can get and be grateful for it. The room fell silent again. The nobles did not know how to respond. They had never seen their queen like this. She was not arguing or threatening. She was simply speaking from her heart. And somehow, that was more powerful than any weapon. Commander stepped forward. Unlike the nobles, he was not angry. He looked thoughtful. I have served the queen for 50 years, he said loudly. I have seen her lead armies. I have seen her make impossible decisions. I have seen her carry the weight of an empire on her shoulders. He looked at Ho. And I have seen this human. He is small and quiet, but he has a strength that I have rarely seen. When the assassins attacked, he did not hesitate. He did not think about himself. He only thought about protecting his queen. That is not weakness. That is courage. And if the queen has found happiness with this man, then I will not stand against her. He knelt before and Ho. I pledge my loyalty to the queen and her consort. The room was stunned. Commander was highly respected. His support meant something. Slowly, other guards began to kneel, then servants, then some of the younger nobles who had always admired. The older nobles looked around in shock. The tide was turning against them. Lord sighed. He was old and wise enough to know when a battle was lost. Very well, Your Majesty. If this is your wish, we will accept it. But there will be conditions. The human must prove himself worthy of his position. What conditions? Asked. He must learn our customs, our language, our laws. He must be educated in the ways of the empire. He must show that he is not just a guard, but a leader. Looked at Ho. Do you accept these terms? Ho nodded. I will do whatever it takes. I will study, I will learn, I will become worthy of standing beside you. Then it is settled, Lord bowed stiffly. May the stars guide this union. The announcement ceremony ended. The nobles departed, many still grumbling but accepting their defeat. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. A human consort to the queen. It was the biggest scandal in centuries. Some called it madness. Others called it a sign that times were changing. Many simply could not believe it. But in the palace, none of that mattered, and Ho stood alone in the throne room holding hands. That was terrifying, Ho admitted. I thought they were going to kill me. Laughed. They were too surprised to think of murder, but give them time. There will be challenges ahead. I know, Lord's conditions will not be easy to meet. You will meet them, I have faith in you. She squeezed his hand. You have already done the impossible once. Winning the heart of a queen, everything else is simple. Ho smiled. I did not win your heart, you gave it to me freely. Same thing. She pulled him close and kissed him softly. Come, we have much to do, and I want to show you your new quarters. They are much nicer than that small guard room. Will I be staying with you? Smile was warm and mischievous. Where else would my consort stay? They walked out of the throne room together, hand in hand. The guards they passed bowed respectfully. Some of them smiled. Word was spreading quickly through the palace. In the months that followed, Ho worked harder than he had ever worked before. He studied history, language, and customs. He learned about politics and diplomacy. He trained his body and mind to meet the standards expected of a royal consort. It was exhausting. Many nights he fell asleep over his books. Many days he failed his lessons and had to start again. But he never gave up, and was always there to encourage him. The galaxy watched with curiosity. Would the human succeed? Would the Queen's choice prove to be wisdom or folly? Slowly, opinions began to change. When Ho successfully negotiated a trade agreement with a difficult alien species, people took notice. When he solved a water crisis on a distant colony, people began to respect him. When he defended a group of human refugees from unfair treatment, people began to love him. He was not just the Queen's consort. He was becoming a leader in his own right. And through it all, his love for only grew stronger. 1 year after the announcement, a ceremony was held. It was the official bonding ritual of the people, similar to a human wedding but far more ancient and meaningful. The throne room was filled with guests from across the galaxy. Nobles who had once protested now watched with genuine respect. Humans and stood side by side, a sight that would have been unthinkable a year ago. Queen wore a dress of pure white light. Ho wore the black and silver of the royal house. They stood before the high priest and spoke the ancient words. I choose you, said, today, tomorrow, and for all the days that remain. I choose you, Ho replied, in this life and whatever comes after. They exchanged rings made of starlight. The crowd cheered. Somewhere, Ho's family from his small farming colony was watching, crying with happiness. The ceremony ended and the celebration began. Music played, food was served, and for one night the entire galaxy was at peace. Commander approached the new couple. I never thought I would see this day, he admitted. A human standing where kings once stood. Times change, said, and so do people. Indeed they do, your majesty, he bowed to Ho. And you, consort Ho, I was wrong about you. You are not weak. You are one of the strongest beings I have ever known. Ho smiled. Thank you, Commander, that means more than you know. Later that night, and Ho stood on a balcony overlooking the stars. The party continued below, but they wanted a moment alone. Happy asked. More than I ever imagined possible. Ho looked at her. When I first came to this palace, I was nothing, a small, shy human filling a space. I never dreamed I would end up here. And yet here you are, my partner, my love, my equal. I do not feel equal to you. You are a queen. You have ruled for 2 centuries. I am just a farmer's son who got lucky. Shook her head. Luck had nothing to do with it. You earned this. Every act of kindness, every sacrifice, every moment of quiet courage. You showed me what true strength looks like. Not power or force, but love and loyalty. She took his face in her hands. You changed me, Ho. You made me better. And for that, I will be grateful for the rest of my life, however long that may be. They kissed under the stars, 2 hearts that had found each other against impossible odds. The galaxy watched and wondered. A proud queen and a shy guard, united by love. It was a story that would be told for generations. And the most amazing part, it was only the beginning.